Guinea fowl aren't just exotic poultry, they're authentic biological dreadnoughts of nature, carrying an unrelenting genetic lineage forged in the unforgiving African savannas. When you decide to incorporate these rustic and primitive birds into your advanced breeding strategies, you're about to face one of the most fascinating and complex biological challenges any seasoned producer could ever experience. Forget absolutely everything you know about the reproduction of traditional commercial poultry. The guinea fowl operates under an ancestral and wild genetic code that demands a level of masterful reproductive dexterity and deep biological understanding. If you genuinely thought that managing the fertility, artificial incubation, and mating dynamics of these remarkable birds was as incredibly simple as throwing a single male together with a few females inside a standard coop, you're about to discover a completely different and far more intricate reality today. We'll unravel the best-kept reproductive secrets of this phenomenal species, revealing highly technical and biological data that'll transform your approach to the overall management of your flock. Get ready to master the art and science of multiplying this magnificent species. Let's begin. Number 1. The illusion of strict monogamy, mating behavior. Unlike domestic chickens that operate under a clearly polygamous harem system, guinea fowl in their wild state are rigorously monogamous during the breeding season, forming exclusive pairs that zealously defend their chosen territory. However, in captivity under intensive management, this biological pressure transforms, allowing a robust male to successfully cover up to 4 females if the environmental conditions remain absolutely ideal. This behavioral shift requires meticulous adaptation from the experienced farmer. If you make the rookie mistake of introducing an excess of males into a confined space, you'll spark a fierce competition that won't only reduce fertility rates but will also generate unsustainable stress levels for the females. The seasoned producer must attentively observe the flock's interactions and decisively remove supernumerary males before the reproductive cycle begins. This critical management practice ensures that copulations take place in a peaceful environment, which maximizes the reproductive yield of these ancestral birds without triggering devastating territorial conflicts. Number 2. The simulated monsoon trigger, photoperiodicity, and humidity. The activation of the reproductive system in this species is intrinsically linked to the climatic signals of their African origins, where the arrival of the rainy season marks the definitive start of the breeding cycle. On your farm, you can't expect sexual maturity to reach its peak based solely on chronological age. These birds require a specific dual environmental stimulus, a constant increase in daylight, reaching exactly 14 hours of photoperiodic exposure, seamlessly combined with a perceived increase in ambient humidity. Elite breeders frequently utilize fine sprinkler systems and outdoor enclosures to simulate intense morning dew or heavy spring rains, which hormonally sparks the reproductive drive in both sexes. By manipulating these macroclimatic factors, you successfully trick the biological clock of the flock, forcing a synchronized entry into the reproduction stage. This advanced environmental engineering results in a substantially longer and significantly more profitable production peak throughout the warmer months, ensuring a steady supply of premium-grade eggs for your incubation operations. Number 3. The vocal call and territorial dance, the courtship ritual. Copulation in these fascinating birds is never a rushed act, but rather the culmination of a highly complex behavioral display that ensures the maximum genetic quality of the offspring. The flock sire initiates this elaborate ritual by slightly separating himself from the main group to execute an accelerated lateral run, lowering his head and bristling his dorsal feathers in a striking posture of dominance. Simultaneously, he emits repetitive vocalizations that attract the chosen female and firmly warn any other concurrent males about his established hierarchy. If the female accepts this impressive demonstration of vitality, she'll adopt a submissive position, crouching very close to the ground. This behavioral synchronization is absolutely vital. Any sudden interruption by the breeder during this primitive dance will completely ruin the delicate sperm transfer. That's exactly why breeding enclosures must provide a grazing space well over 43 square feet per bird, guaranteeing that these ancestral rituals unfold without interruptions and consistently secure highly fertile genetic material. Number 4. The extreme structural fortress, the dense eggshell. An anatomical detail that continually baffles most novices is the monumental density of the eggs produced by these birds. Evolutionarily designed to be laid directly on the unforgiving soil of the savanna and constantly exposed to drastic thermal variations, females encase their embryos in a calcium-rich shell that's up to 50% thicker and considerably more resistant than a standard equivalent egg. This impressive biological fortress represents a massive challenge during artificial incubation. The shell possesses an extremely fine network of pores that aggressively restricts any vital moisture loss. If the operator mistakenly maintains the exact same relative humidity levels they'd use for other standard avian species, the developing embryo will tragically drown in its own internal fluids, unable to evaporate the excess water before hatching. You require a much more restrictive humidity calibration, forcing the seasoned producer to absolutely master the complex thermodynamics of the incubated egg to achieve exceptional hatch rates. Number 5. The enigma of hidden communal nests, the nesting instinct. Unlike modern laying hens that readily accept prefabricated nesting boxes, the female guinea fowl keeps her deep survival instinct to meticulously hide her offspring completely intact. Out in the open or within extensive grazing systems, the females of the exact same flock will often select a single remote location, densely covered by heavy vegetation, to communally deposit their laid eggs. This primitive behavior can result in a colossal pyramidal nest containing dozens of stacked eggs, simultaneously incubated by multiple females taking shifts. For the experienced farmer focused on daily collection, this poses a constant strategic battle. You must train the flock by strictly restricting their access to outdoor grazing until well after noon, forcing them to perform their oviposition inside the carefully controlled enclosure. Additionally, providing dark nests, situated at ground level and heavily covered with branches or hay to simulate natural hiding spots, is indispensable to mitigate stress and ensure hygienic egg collection, preventing genetic degradation outdoors. Number 6. The 26-day barrier, the prolonged incubation period. One of the most catastrophic errors producers make when delving into the elite genetics of this species is badly miscalculating the embryonic development window. While standard chickens effortlessly complete their cycle in 21 days, the guinea fowl embryo requires an astonishing period of 26 to 28 days to reach the necessary anatomical maturity to break through the shell. This prolonged gestation demands relentless thermal stability. During the first 3 weeks, the incubator must be rigorously maintained at exactly 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. However, the truly critical challenge occurs in the final 3 days, the exact moment you must transfer them to the hatchers. Here, the temperature must drop slightly, and the relative humidity desperately needs to rise well above 70% to temporarily soften that extreme dense eggshell we described earlier. A single failure in monitoring this exact timing threshold will invariably result in the sudden death of fully developed embryos inside the shell. Number 7. The imperative of early postpartum lethargy, Keet management. At the precise moment of hatching, the newborns, technically known as Keets, reveal yet another evolutionary peculiarity that demands immediate specialized management. Due to the extensive physical effort required to violently fracture their exceptionally thick shell, they hatch in a state of severe exhaustion, accompanied by a disproportionately small physical size compared to other poultry species. During their very first 48 hours of life, they completely lack the biological capacity to regulate their internal body temperature, becoming extremely susceptible to minuscule drafts or thermal fluctuations that would trigger a sudden mortality. The seasoned producer must establish an airtight brooding area, guaranteeing a basal reception temperature of exactly 95 degrees Fahrenheit directly under the primary heat source. Furthermore, due to their underdeveloped peripheral vision and frantic behavior, it's imperative to confine the Keets in circular brooders without any corners during their critical first week, preventing fatal panic accumulations in the enclosure's sharp angles. Number 8. The enigma of non-existent dimorphism, sexual identification. One of the most formidable obstacles facing any seasoned producer who decides to establish pure reproductive lines with this species is the absolute challenge of early sex identification. Unlike traditional breeds where plumage, combs, or overall size clearly reveal the male's identity within a few short weeks, the guinea fowl is a biological masterpiece of evolutionary monomorphism. Physically, both males and females proudly display the exact same pearled plumage pattern, the same aerodynamic body conformation, and a surprisingly similar live weight hovering right around 4.4 pounds in mature breeding specimens. This intense visual uniformity forced pioneer breeders to develop an incredibly acute bioacoustic sensitivity, as the true dimorphism of these birds lies entirely within their vocal cords. Around exactly 8 weeks of age, their internal vocal apparatus differentiates irreversibly, marking a critical turning point in your management strategy. The female develops an unmistakable two-syllable vocalization, often accurately described as a rhythmic warning sound, while the male strictly limits himself to emitting a constant, single-syllable chirp that's much sharper and distinctly choppy. Relying exclusively on slight thickenings of the wattles or the subtle inclination of the cranial bony helmet is a highly risky gamble that frequently results in the formation of breeding pens with absolutely disastrous sexual proportions. A single error in this critical acoustic classification introduces rival males into the same sector, immediately sparking a territorial violence that instantly annihilates any real possibility of successful copulation and fertility within the flock. Number 9. The bioacoustics of desire, the vocal reproductive stimulus. Beyond serving as the only truly reliable tool for accurate sexing, The incessant and often overwhelming volume of this species' vocalizations fulfills a vital biological function that most novice farmers completely underestimate. In their natural environment, the collective noise of the flock isn't simply an alarm system against predators, but an incredibly powerful neuroendocrine catalyst that actively synchronizes the ovulatory cycles of the females. Applied animal science focused strictly on these primitive birds reveals a fascinating and undeniable truth. A completely silent flock is invariably a sterile flock that will severely damage your financial bottom line. The acoustic resonance generated by dominant males during the preseason travels straight through the auditory nerve and directly stimulates the female's pituitary gland, unlocking a cascading release of gonadotropic hormones that initiate the rapid maturation of ovarian follicles. Attempting to breed guinea fowl in closed facilities with strict acoustic isolation or in excessively small groups effectively suppresses this vital sound feedback loop, resulting in dramatic and devastating drops in laying rates. The elite breeder fully understands that they must embrace this auditory chaos, strategically structuring the pen so that reproductive pairs can easily hear each other without necessarily interacting physically. This specific facility design maximizes cross-vocal stimulation, naturally elevating testosterone levels in the flock sires, and guaranteeing that females maintain a constant, biologically driven egg production fueled by the sheer acoustic energy of their peers, ultimately elevating the general reproductive viability indices of the entire operation. Number 10. The fuel for extreme calcification, the nutritional strategy. Returning to the monumental density of their eggshells, it's absolutely imperative to understand that the physiological machinery required to secrete such a massive amount of calcium demands a nutritional support system far superior to that of any standard poultry. If you make the grave mistake of feeding your breeding females with a formulated feed designed generically for commercial layers, you'll trigger a rapid and lethal skeletal depletion, forcing them to decalcify their own bones just to maintain the evolutionary thickness of that dense eggshell. The dietary formulation for this specific species must accurately simulate the intense and highly diverse protein feast found throughout the African savanna during the naturally abundant rainy season. This rigorously demands a specialized ration reaching up to 24% highly digestible crude protein, heavily supplemented with massive levels of essential amino acids like methionine and lysine. Furthermore, calcium metabolism in these birds is exceptionally accelerated and heavily dependent on a highly complex absorption matrix. Providing slow-release calcium sources, expertly combined with specialized mineral supplements incredibly rich in phosphorus and vitamin D3, is absolutely non-negotiable to continuously maintain the bird's foundational structural health. The most advanced producers actively encourage restricted grazing in pastures rich in insect biodiversity, allowing the birds to strategically supplement their demanding diet with chitin and entomological proteins that directly boost sperm viability in males and albumin density in the eggs, guaranteeing the formation of exceptionally robust embryos perfectly ready for a successful hatch. Number 11. The African Mendelian canvas, phenotype segregation. Although the classic image of the guinea fowl is the iconic dark gray plumage heavily speckled with white pearls, elite avian genetics have successfully stabilized extraordinary color mutations, ranging from pale lavender and cobalt blue to pure white and deep royal purple. However, working closely with these advanced genetic lines requires a profound understanding of Mendelian segregation and strict control over dangerous inbreeding. Many of these highly exotic phenotypes strictly obey recessive genes that, if managed irresponsibly, silently drag along lethal genetic traits or severely compromise the rustic nature and overall body size of the bird. The specialized farmer must meticulously design crossbreeding programs utilizing systematic test crosses to accurately identify birds carrying specific colors without ever diluting the raw purity of the productive baseline. Additionally, the intensely gregarious natural instinct of these specific birds makes a highly structured flock replacement strategy absolutely vital to successfully avoid a devastating and lethal long-term inbreeding depression. The careful introduction of new flock sires from completely distant lineages must be meticulously executed at least every 3 years, a delicate process demanding strict quarantines and prolonged visual acclimation periods through specialized dividing meshes. Forcing the sudden entry of a brand new individual into an already established flock without this gradual introduction protocol will spark an incredibly violent territorial rejection, but its successful integration remains the only scientifically validated biological mechanism to consistently maintain hybrid vigor and guarantee truly optimal hatch rates. Number 12. The autumn truce, hormonal decline and molting. The intensely energetic reproductive season of this species doesn't just fade away softly with the passage of time. It experiences an abrupt and unforgiving metabolic shutdown strictly dictated by unavoidable autumnal photoperiodicity. As daylight hours noticeably decrease, the bird's intricate endocrine system undergoes a programmed collapse of all reproductive hormones, abruptly halting daily oviposition and completely eradicating every last vestige of courtship behavior. This forceful biological break is evolutionarily designed to aggressively redirect all valuable metabolic energy toward an accelerated and extremely exhausting molting phase, properly preparing them biologically for survival against harsh future weather conditions. During this critical resting period, the entire social structure of the farm radically transforms. Zealously territorial monogamous pairs peacefully dissolve, and the birds seamlessly merge back into a massive, highly cohesive winter flock, prioritizing safety and collective warmth over any reproductive instinct. It's exactly at this critical transitional moment throughout the changing seasons where your overall nutritional management protocol must pivot drastically. The experienced farmer must quickly reduce dietary calcium density to avoid overloading the delicate renal function of the inactive birds, while substantially increasing dietary lipids and sulfur amino acids essential for synthesizing brand new keratin. Trying to unnaturally extend the active laying season by aggressively abusing continuous artificial light during this completely natural rest phase is a massive and extremely costly management mistake. This practice subjects the females to a severe physical toll that rapidly exhausts their bodily reserves, heavily compromising their reproductive health and drastically reducing egg quality. Mastering the intricate art of reproducing the guinea fowl requires completely abandoning conventional poultry practices and fully adopting a highly technical mindset deeply rooted in evolutionary biology. These magnificent African birds simply don't forgive mediocrity in farm management. They relentlessly demand an intelligent acoustic infrastructure, extremely rigorous nutritional support, and a profound understanding of their primitive survival instincts. As serious producers, our ultimate duty is to truly honor their incredible genetic heritage, meticulously structuring optimal environments that deeply respect their complex courtship dances, their inflexible thermal requirements, and their constantly fluctuating social hierarchies. By strictly applying these foundational technical principles, you'll effectively transform the challenges of their monomorphism and prolonged incubation into operational advantages, practically ensuring stable and profitable reproductive lines. I genuinely want to know about your experience managing these birds. Please leave your opinion in the comments regarding which specific evolutionary behavior you find most challenging right now. If this biological analysis helps improve the profitability of your homestead, please like this video and subscribe to our channel today. To your success, fellow breeder. Until next time.